The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "There will appear in this nation a group of people who will project the image of extreme piety, that you would consider your prayers inferior to their prayers, that your fasting inferior to their fasting. They will quote the Quran, but its teachings will not go beyond their throats." This is an authentic saying of the Prophet Muhammad collected in the collection of Bukhari. I'd like to continue our discussion today about radicalization, and I have with me my guest, Mehdi Brave from the Muslim American Freedom Foundation, Dr. Sadi Ali Aden from the Adar Foundation working with Somali youth, my good brother Yusuf Khan, who's a dental student at Howard University, my alum. Now, I'm an alum, brother. Just want you to know that, of Howard University School of Dentistry, and is active in the peace movement, and Alejandro Butel, who is the Muslim Public Affairs Council's government liaison. Let's get right into it. I know we started our conversation. I want us to continue now. What is radicalization? What is it?
It depends on who you ask.
See, like what? Like what?
I mean, somebody could consider me or you radical, the way we're dressed, the way we look.
How am I dressed?
Somebody could consider MLK, Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz back in the 60s.
Okay, radical.
Okay. Pro. I mean, we can go down the list.
Or they see your dress and they say.
And it did happen to me, where I was told that it was a disgrace to have you as an American, to call you an American woman. And I say that's ironic because I'm an American woman, and I'm happy to say that I'm a Muslim too.
Allah. So, needless to say, I've been referred to often as a radical, you know, but you know, I consider that from there, because there are two ways to look at radicalization.
Okay.
One is a very positive way, and one can be a very negative way.
Oh, okay, when you say, what's a positive radical, Matt DeBray?
Well, I think a positive radical would be, and I don't mean, and I have to be careful because I don't want people to misunderstand. I would say Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he brought a radical, transformational idea.
Oh, all right. So Jesus, all right, now, maybe another. Jesus was a radical.
Most of the prophets.
Right. Moses had radical ideas because as far as Pharaoh
they moved against what we consider the status quo and the norm, but they moved in a positive and in a very transformational way for the betterment.
So what's this? The kind of radicalization that we're talking about?
Well, I think there's a difference between ideas and criminal activity. When we're talking about radicalization, it's about adopting extremist viewpoints. I think that's the popular idea. And there's a difference between ideas and criminal activity.
I don't even know if, I mean, the Amish have some very extreme ideas. Right? Or somebody might say Seventh-day Adventists.
And it's about approving violence for political views. So that's the second component to it. That's what makes it extreme.
So we're really not talking, the word radicalization is being used, but what you're really talking is about violence in conjunction with these other extreme
But that is a definition, but that is not the only definition of radicalization.
Okay.
I think we have to be careful with that. Because, and again, I think the show is focusing on what we call the negative aspect of radicalization and so like that. But I think we have to also put radicalization within its semantical and contextual reference, that radicalization could be both good and it could be bad. In this case, we're talking about radicalization that leads to something bad.
That leads to violence. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would have to disagree with that just simply because the popular perception is not going to get it that way. Between all of us here, as sophisticated individuals, yeah, people, I think we could have a great discussion on that. But in terms of what we're trying to get out in terms of a message, what we really need to talk about, really more than anything else, is about extremism.
But you can call a horse a mule, but it doesn't make it one. And so therefore, I think we have to be very, very clear about what we're talking about and the definitions that we're talking about. Because if you don't, okay, extremism, okay.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, because what I'm hearing, I really don't care how extreme you are. You want to wear a sackcloth and ashes? That's fine with me, long as you don't bother me. And I think we have to be able to make some, and I don't think the Muslim community has made that distinction. And part of it is because, again,
American hasn't made that distinction.
American has made that distinction.
Nor has law enforcement, for that matter. And that's the important thing to understand, is that according to the Constitution, no matter how distasteful or likable your viewpoints are, as long as you don't engage in criminal activity, especially violent activity, you can say whatever you want.
But the founding fathers were
But
radical.
that's not the case.
The founding fathers were radical.
That's the problem,
The
though.
founding fathers were radical.
All right, now
and the founding, I just want to pay.
You're about to be radicalized off my show.
Okay,
Dr. Aiden.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, what I'm saying is, when we say that something is radical, it depends who's really, who's saying
radicalism
it,
is it?
who's
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Like, let's be honest. We keep talking about the mosques. The mosques have not done anything wrong. There is no shred of evidence that the mosques have done anything wrong, the leaders have done. The Somalis, when you talk about the youth that went away, the mosques had nothing to do with it. The sheikh that was refused to be flown out to the Hajj back in 2009, now he's cleared, he's flying again. Because he had nothing to do with it. The mosques in Minnesota had nothing to do with it. It had everything to do with the policy of the previous administration that advocated or pushed for the idea of radicalizing these youth. So we need to talk about what the role of the government in radicalizing these kids instead of the Muslim community.
I think the reason they have these ambiguous terms, they do it on purpose. You can't define it, so you can label as many people as you want. You can make a big pot of it. You know what I mean?
So we need to really address that. So the Americans need to educate themselves, learn what's happening outside their small boxes.
I'm gonna tell you a joke, and I know this is a serious issue, but becoming informed so that we can be sensitive to what's going on with people who, especially young people who are seeing the news. I saw a bumper sticker that said, "I love my country, but I think it's time for us to start seeing other people."
And that's beautiful, but you don't see that often.
That we've got to learn to see
another perspective,
other people. Matthew Bray.
No, I only want to point out, and again, I go back to the whole concept of radicalization. We have to be very, very careful about that. And I do agree, certainly about the violence aspect, but I also, from a historical context, and I don't want to go all the way down the road, but indeed, often radicalization means moving beyond the norm or moving beyond the status quo. And that's what George Washington, Patrick Henry, all of them did back in the day when King George said, this is the way it should go. And they said, no, this is not the way we go.
I think we're talking about Islamic terms. If we're talking about Islamic terms, a simple thing of what extremism is, what radicalism is basically going away from your religion. And it does not mean, so for example, if somebody was to say killing innocent people is radical, we'd be like, of course it is, because it's not in our religion to do so, right?
We're trying to teach this lesson on the one hand, okay? To say that as we understand Islam, and you just said it, killing civilians, not part of Islam, right?
I mean, innocent person,
right? Killing innocent person, not part of Islam. But there is this other narrative that's saying those people really aren't innocent.
I mean, they can have that
people
narrative.
who are getting killed, you mean?
No, there are some people on the we talk about this
guilty by association,
right?
That's what it is. Guilty by association.
That they're Americans. Their foreign policy is so and so.
Therefore, with us or against
and what are you doing as a Muslim to make a difference?
Well, there is the feeling of injustice, whether we want to acknowledge or not, whether it's real or perceived. And in order to change, and these people are not anti-American. They want the outside because there is that feeling of injustice. Now, what does the community do? Like the Somali community.
What we're going to do is what the community is going to do. I think we need to take a break and come back. But I think the point that Alejandro made is a salient point, and that is the issue of identifying radicalism in the context of criminality and violence. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back so that we can look at these issues about what can we do next. We will be right back. We're going to come back and really wrap up, I hope, and get to where is this conversation going with radicalization in America.